Former doesn't save you often enough, and the lather isn't very good. Okay. Well, all I can really say about the defense is that I think I mean, I can't really I say that you can add more onto it, or like you just like can't block scrub, whatever. Like your tools, at least there are defensive options. What's a game that has no defensive options? Okay, you don't. I mean, okay, so you have resonance. That'll get you out of some situations too. But as far as like what the game just automatically gives you, just push block, blocking, bursting, and your reversal action, aka Dragon Punch. They all have a weakness, but they all have a strength. So at least I could count the number of defensive options on one hand. One kind of acts as an alpha counter, because I mean you get your other character in. There are some games that just kind of push them away, but you know, I feel like you can use active switching as a defensive mechanic. So that's, or spend the meter. You know, don't be cheap. So that's all I can really say in defense of defense itself. Okay, so let's get to the topic of characters and like how they feel. Like it is mostly slapped together. Isn't like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 extremely loved, but is like do people just like push aside the fact that it is like probably one of the most reused assets in a single game, period. Like aside from the the new characters. So let's count the new characters that were in that game specifically, not in a former game. So there was Cable, Marrow, Sun, Amingo, Ruby Heart. I guess if you want to count Abyss, that's 5 characters right there. And then literally, not joking, everyone else in the game is a reused asset from another game. X-Men versus Street Fighter versus X-Men. I mean Street Fighter versus or Marvel versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom 1. They were all from a previous game. But you know, you don't really hear people complain about that because it was the pillar of the FGC for 10 years. And now, okay, I get it. You can get games where they make like entirely new character models, like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, CVS 2. They reused some assets from that game too. I mean, take for example, majority of the Capcom characters. I think a vast majority of the SNK characters they actually hand drew, or at least made new sprites for. Because when they made the first CVS, you can tell like the way they flow. They made those characters for those games specifically. But much of the Capcom side, they pulled straight from Alpha, pulled straight from Darkstalkers, pulled straight from even Marvel vs. Capcom. If you take like Guile's character sprite for example, like they're not like, you know, all original. So to say that they reused asset in this game, it's I mean, okay, yes, but I think if you ignore that fact and show this game to someone who's maybe doesn't take the game as seriously, they say the game looks fantastic. I think the way they make the UI and the characters look. I think the one thing that is a little off-putting though is when you look at the here we'll go through it in the gallery menu. The character cut-ins. Those are a little off because the character art styles are very different. So like you see these when you see like switch-ins or DHCs. So these are the character cut-ins. You see I think the Blazblue artwork is fantastic. The Persona 4 artwork also kind of cool, has its own visual flair to it. But then you look at the Under Night artwork, very thick lines, not as detailed, but the characters still look cool. Yeah, Mika's. Sorry, this is pulled from Under Night. Blitz Tanks looks very sinister, very cool. Pulled from Akatsuki Blitzcomp. And Ruby's. Very akin to the Ruby art style, but in Blazblue form. Ruby's also, Heart's also pulled from Arcana Heart. Yumi's, I feel like they made that one either originally or pulled from Senran Kagura. But basically, the character artwork cut-ins are very, very different. Return that saving. But basically, reuse assets. Reuse asset, yes, but the way they make it look in this game is pretty, like, to me it's seamless. You would have to like use your magnifying glass or zoom in on a very still image of the game. Here, we can look at the character differences in terms of like how they look. We'll go look at an Under Night character. We'll take Waldstein. Thing about Waldstein is that he was like one of the very first Under Night characters ever designed, and it's very apparent in his sprites. Versus like say Noel. And then we'll take Ruby. And then Narukami. And we'll do it on a very still stage here.
Get ready.
Man, I don't know what to eat tonight. I feel like I'm just gonna eat noodles and pot stickers. So let's take a closer look. You can see that here. We'll do game screen only. You can see. Do I have a mic on?
This is fun.
You can see how Waldstein looks. His quality in pixels are not the same as Ruby's. Is that clear? And then we look at Noel's. A little bit better than Tager's. I'm sorry, Waldstein's, but not as nice as Ruby's. And then we'll go look at Narukami's.
You ready?
This is because Noel is from BlazBlue, which is a 2008 game. Narukami, he's from Persona 4 Arena, which is a game that came out, I believe, in 2011 or 2012. So by that, we have that. You have that they have a very different quality in character sprites. I think all in all, I don't think you can really say like, oh, it's reused assets of the game, and complain about like there not being some amount of quality. They chose some of the best songs from each game, a very diverse set of characters from every game, and every game's music, it represents the game pretty well because they sound so different. So I think while the songs are pulled straight from the games, I think they mesh very well into this game because it is a crossover game. You didn't really like. I'll play the one original track that you can play besides the Persona song or like the Crossing Fate songs. This is the best song in the entire game that is original, in my opinion. It's called System. You have to unlock the song by doing the story mode.
Get ready.
But it's a very intense track. This is like one of the best like original songs in the entire game. I kid you not.
Come on,
there's another song. It's called Crossing Fate, I believe, or it is called Turning Fate. Pretty decent song. Not as good as System though. So there's that. I've covered the visuals. I've covered the music and just the character sprites. When the game's in motion, it's really hard to tell that the characters have different sprites. That's pretty much the only time. But otherwise, the particle effects and all that, I think they make it look pretty good. So there's that.